Hello, my name is Deron Butler. The NBA season is vastly approaching, and with preseason already in full swing, I want to take a look at all 30 teams in 6 divisions, starting with the Southeast Division, consisting of the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, the Atlanta Hawks, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Washington Wizards, to see which teams will be atop of their division and which ones will be in the draft lottery. 2 seasons ago, the Miami Heat went on a miraculous and legendary run as the 8th seed from the play in to the NBA Finals. Last season, they were the 8th seed again, but fell to the NBA champion Boston Celtics in 5 games. Since that time, Miami's been dealing with their one major concern, and that's Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was declined his contract extension, and the only thing he has left is a player option for the 2025-2026 season. Miami, when Jimmy Butler is focused and locked in and the team is fully healthy, they can compete with just about anyone. Do I think the Miami Heat will win the Southeast Division? Maybe. Will Jimmy Butler be able to play at least, say, 60 plus games or more? I think so. I wouldn't count out the Miami Heat because this team is very formidable when they have all their players and their bench as deep as it is. I do expect Tyler Hero to play better than he did last season. I expect Bam Adebayo to take his game to the next level. And the young core that they have with Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, plus newcomers like Kel'el Ware and Pelle Larsson, I think that's a young core that you can somewhat build around and then develop. If any team that can do that, it's the Miami Heat. So I expect the Miami Heat to do good from last season, but as far as the Eastern Conference scope is concerned, they may be a play-in team again, but they might break that expectation for me. Next, we have the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic made quite a leap last season when they went from being in the cellar of the Eastern Conference to being a playoff contender. Like the Miami Heat, they too fell in the first round, but it was in 7 games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Do I think the Orlando Magic will retain the Southeast Division crown? Maybe, but considering how weak the Southeast Division is compared to the Atlantic Division and the Central Division this season, who knows? But in my opinion, the one team that I think could take the division crown from Orlando is Miami, but we'll get there a little later. Next, we have the Atlanta Hawks. Last season saw the experimentation backcourt duo of Trae Young and DeJounte Murray fizzled out for the Hawks, which led to Murray being traded to the New Orleans Pelicans in the offseason. Since then, the Hawks ended up with the number 1 draft pick in this year's draft that led them to select Zachary Richer from France. As for the Hawks as a whole, I think they're going to continue the rebuilding process, most likely getting rid of Trae Young by season's end. If not by the end of the season, most likely the Hawks could possibly trade Trae Young by the mid-season trade deadline. It all depends on what direction the Hawks are going with him. As for this upcoming season, the Hawks should be more concerned about the future, getting enough draft picks as possible, and trying to build a core around Richer for the next 5 years. Next is the Charlotte Hornets. The good news for the Charlotte Hornets is that LaMelo Ball is back on their roster. The bad news is trying to keep him healthy for a full 82-game season. This shouldn't be a problem for the Hornets, especially when you consider how much Brandon Miller has improved from last season. If the Hornets can put it all together behind this backcourt duo, then they should be a shocker team come this season. Most likely, I can see the Hornets making it into the play-in, possibly as a 9th seed or as a 10th seed. And finally, we have the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards continue their rebuild, but it seems like they have a piece they can build around with Bilal Coulibaly. In the NBA draft, they selected Alex Sarr as their number 2 pick. Combining Coulibaly's offense with Alex Sarr's height and reach, I think the Wizards have a 1-2 punch combination that they can build their core around for the next few years. Now, as for their current star players like Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, I think Kyle Kuzma might be on his way out of Washington, either by the midseason or by the offseason, but most likely it could be the midseason. With Kuzma, I think he's going to end up being traded on a contender team somewhere in either the Western Conference or most likely find himself playing in one of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference, not named Boston. I think with the Wizards, they're already building towards the future, like I said before, with Coulibaly and Alex Sarr. I think they're maybe 2 or 3 draft picks away from actually contending, but you never know with the Wizards. So to recap this whole video, I think the Southeast Division is going to be the weakest of the 3 divisions in terms of competitiveness compared to the Atlantic Division with its star-laden teams like Boston, Philadelphia, and New York, and the Central Division, which is going to have a grinded out effort with Milwaukee, Indiana, and Cleveland. So if I had to choose which teams are going to be atop of the Southeast Division in no particular order, I would say Miami and Orlando are neck and neck, but I would give the slight edge to Orlando by at least 2 or 3 wins over Miami. Then you have the Charlotte Hornets. If they keep LaMelo Ball healthy and be able to have him for a full 82-game season with Brandon Miller, followed by the Atlanta Hawks, if they continue to hold on to Trae Young or not. And finally, the Washington Wizards with their rebuilding, but they have a star in the future with Bilal Coulibaly and possibly with Alex Sarr. So again, Orlando, Miami, Charlotte, Atlanta, and Washington. Those are my predictions for the Southeast Division in terms of ranking. But then again, you never know, especially with the top teams like Orlando and Miami most likely meeting in crucial games that can determine positioning for the postseason. Hey, if you made it to the video, thank you. I appreciate it so much. I look forward to reading your comments and interacting with each and every one of you. I'm Deron Butler, reminding you to always run through the paint.